Welcome back, boys and girls, to another episode of K-Faith Comparisons. My name is Mr. Know-It-All Daniel John Schaefer, and I am joined once again by the patron saint of the Rock Block, Mr. Jesse Baker. How you doing, buddy?
Dude, I'm doing great. I'm happy to be on with y'all. A little look-see back into the year 2021 in pro wrestling. I'm very excited to chat.
Yeah, man. And your regularly scheduled co-host as well, Mr. Wex Breaking the Lawson. Wex, how you living today?
I'm living pretty good, but you did not give my new moniker, the king of K-Flay, the king of, God damn it.
Yeah, you can't even do it. The king of frontside 180 kayfabe kickflips.
There we go. That's it.
Mr.
Kayfabe 180 kickflips. That's a new move altogether.
I love it. I love it. I'm super into it. And you know what? This year has been wild, but this is our year in review. It's the final episode of season 3. We got a lot of really cool stuff planned for you guys for season 4. I'm super hype. So yeah, we're just going to take a look back at everything that's happened in 2021. I mean, the rise of AEW, starting the year off still very much in the pandemic world with no fans, and then kind of moving into fans again. So yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I don't even really know where to start. Let's start with so January 2021, right? We're still doing Daly's Place. Does anybody have at their fingertips? Do you know what were the first big shows? I mean,
Winter
Royal
is coming.
Rumble.
Winter is coming was the
right?
first big one.
Was it in January or was that in December?
Yeah, it was in January, and Wrestle Kingdom's really the first one.
That's right. Yeah. Wrestle Kingdom.
There's that really good Naito match.
Yeah. Yeah, we had the
Kenny
Forbidden
Omega
Door.
up that other really good match with Moxley.
Yes. Somehow pulled Moxley into a decent match. Yeah, man. I mean, the Royal Rumble was still very weird this year because I think a lot of those WWE shows were just so weird when they were just in those empty arenas. And also, too, you didn't really get the surprises that you come to expect from a Royal Rumble. At least this year we didn't. Just because I feel obviously the COVID situation, but I don't know, for me, even WWE as it is now in this current state, I'm always the most hyped for Royal Rumble, I think.
Yeah, because you get those big returns and the big pops. No crowds, no pops.
Yeah. So that was weird. I mean, Royal Rumble was weird this year. I don't even remember if there was any real surprise entrances at all. Were there?
I don't recall. So if there were, it didn't really do the trick.
Yeah. I think there were comebacks, but not necessarily just surprise one-offs.
Yeah.
There were no Funakis.
No Funakis.
No Gilberts. No fun stuff.
Anything else stand out to you guys from that January kind of early part of the year?
I just felt that was still the tail end. To me, it was all 2020 altogether. It was all still kind of in that same train. New Year's didn't feel like New Year's, so there wasn't that big separation. WWE did have that big Indian show that they threw, that Superstar Spectacle or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
I faintly recall watching, but it was still, to me by that point in time, everything had just hedged the same bet for a million months.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, that was that came on during the day, while I was at work at 2 p.m. or some shit. So
yeah.
I do not think that I caught that one, but it was in India, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird too because I feel every time they do a Saudi show, there's always at least one match that's just embarrassingly bad.
Yep.
At least multiple. There's always multiple.
Yeah, there's always multiple, but there's generally one decent match. And I think the best one of the overseas ones was the Crown Jewel Rollins versus Edge match. I think that's the best one.
100% has my vote.
Yeah, I mean, I think that would probably be. I mean, did the Dragunov Walter match, was that in Florida or was that overseas?
Oh man,
that was in Florida.
Pop my cherry here for our superlatives, goddamn.
That was in Florida.
Yeah, it was a takeover 36.
Okay, then I'm gonna say that the Rollins Edge match was the best WWE match overseas this year for sure.
I'd have to agree.
And then Mania is when we kind of started back with the fans, right? But it was weird. It was we had a big Mania, and then they went back to empty arenas for a little bit,
Mania
6 weeks or something like that.
And Mania, they justified it because of the space, But, AEW still had that, 1,300 situation going on. And their first pay-per-view was like that, too, at Daly's Place of the year back in March. They did that 1,300,
They had those little pod things, right?
Yeah. And then, but then Mania was the first, full-fledged, which, of course, we'll get to it. But what a fun debacle that whole thing was.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's great, too, because it's like you're going to have all these fans come back for the first time in, well over a year. And
it fucking rains.
And it rains for the first hour. So the show ends up being what was it? The first night was 6 hours long or something like that?
Dude, yes. And they cut all those fucking non-scripted promos backstage to fill in the time, which was great to watch because you got to see so much raw shit coming off, and you would never hear these promos normally. They were just off the cuff.
That combined with the visual of Michael Cole and Samoa Joe and fucking ponchos
dude, that's meme worthy for years to come. That photo right there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, I will say that say what you will about Roman Reigns, but I think that he actually held his own when it was on him to do the unscripted thing. I mean, Roman Reigns is the best part of WWE right now. People may hate that to admit that, but the whole bloodline thing that pretty much happened this year has been phenomenal. I mean, I think that's the only good thing that's going in WWE right now, outside of the Seth Rollins situation. Also, I like AJ Styles kind of getting involved a little more in the NXT world. I think that's kind of helpful. I
will agree. Bloodline's the most long thought out, cohesive, good storyline they've done in a long time.
Yeah.
I got to say, I'm digging not only the Big E thing, but I do like what they've done with Xavier Woods, even though I know it won't last very long, but I do enjoy it. Been a lot of fun. That and dude, Sami Zayn's crushing it too. They got some good stuff going on.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, and that's the thing too. I'd say we're early first quarter of the year, on the road to WrestleMania. WrestleMania happens, and at that point, there hadn't really been any major releases yet, right?
There were a few. So in February, they released Lars Sullivan and Steve Cutler. And
God,
that's right.
So Lars Sullivan. He was doing the weird porn stuff, right?
Yes.
That's the stuff that happened to him. Okay.
All that crazy racist and homophobic stuff came up from years prior, too.
Oh, yeah. So he did some gay porn, but then had some homophobic post on a bodybuilding forum, which I guess it makes sense. Some weird psychological stuff going on. And that wasn't even his character. That was the real life Lars Sullivan.
Yeah, but that was way before too. And also, I mean, when it came out, it was way before the release. They kept him on for, I want to say it was well over a year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause they couldn't just release him that quick. Cause it'd be too obvious. They'd be like, we got to keep him on a little bit longer.
Yeah. They kind of did the same thing with Jackson Riker later on, but no, Steve Cutler was released apparently because he contracted COVID from going to Matt Cardona and Chelsea Green's party or something and didn't tell anybody and gave it to a bunch of people is what I heard.
Oh, that's Steve Macklin in Impact, right?
Yes, that's correct. And he's a much better presentation there, I've got to say. And then, in March was the Andrade release.
Okay, so but it was still very limited. It wasn't like the wave that we were going
MASH releases that started coming every 3 months. It didn't happen until a little bit later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it too. I feel 2021, if it had a tagline, if it was a Star Trek movie theme, it'd be Rise of the Khans, because it really is just AEW kind of blowing up and then Nick Khan kind of completely changing WWE in every way. So, I mean, let's dive into that then. Let's go ahead and let's get to the releases. So, you said that you had a list of everyone that had been released this year. Let's just kind of go down that list and see how we're all feeling about it.
I'm gonna try and leave it to. So, all right, the wave in April was Samoa Joe, who we all know would go on to come back.
Yeah.
The Iconics, Bo Dallas, which I really wonder where the fuck that guy is.
Bo Lave.
He's on a farm. He's not. He's self-sustaining weirdo.
Hardcore Country, Mickey James, Chelsea Green, Kalisto, Wesley Blake, and Tucker.
Not Wesley Lawson.
Correct. So that's all. That's just the April ones. And then in May, we get Velveteen Dream, Jessamine Duke. I'm going to try and keep these to people that we know who they are. Alexander Wolf. Drake Wirtz, the crazy fucking
QAnon
referee guy.
Yeah.
That used to be a deathmatch wrestler in CZW, which just doesn't go together at all. And Tom Phillips, which is
Oh, yeah, it's weird. I completely forgot Tom Phillips got released. Does that say anything about him as a character?
I think he works for like Fox Sports or something now too. I think he does boxing actually.
I just always thought he did like the mid-card level job that I always felt like Michael Cole did until Michael Cole took the seat. You know what I mean? Like it did kind of surprise me a little bit.
He was early Michael Cole part 2.
Yes, correct.
It was more like Todd Grisham.
Yeah.
Okay. Right on. Then we have in June. See, June we're kind of this is where we start the big ones. This is where we start the ones that fucking blew my mind. Braun Strowman, Aleister Black, Lana, Ruby Riott, Buddy Murphy, Santana Garrett, Tino Sabatini, the Bollywood Boys, Marina Shafir, Arturo Ruiz, Kurt Stallion, Fandango, Tyler Breeze, Everrise, Tony Nese, Arya Daivari, August Gray. And then in July we get Bray Wyatt. So we can kind of cut it mid-year there if you guys want to. But
yeah, that's kind of crazy, man. I mean, just that burst of wrestlers alone, just them would be a decent promotion by itself.
Absolutely.
Like, I mean
that's just absolutely batshit. And also the fact that a lot of those bigger releases happened in June and July when we're starting to see WWE get back on the road.
Yeah, it made no sense.
They've got those live gates, and granted, they're spending money on the production trucks, I know. And they've got a whole bunch of other staff that they probably had to rehire new people for positions that weren't being filled while they were stationary. But still, man, like, that's just nuts to me.
Yeah.
It feels like there's got to be something else behind it. But yeah, I mean, the rest of the year has some crazy ones too. You know?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. Just the first half of the year was a little strange, but by the first half, we're kind of getting into back into the live setting the way we knew it before. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. We did try to ease into it. So I mean, I will say for 100% certain, when we were all covering the shows in the empty arenas and stuff, the work rate had to be superb. And I feel like it was also because you could hear everything. It's almost like you had to be able to act while you were wrestling because it was so quiet that the guys had to talk to each other.
Yeah.
And then you go back into the live crowd thing, and it's almost like, I know, at least for me, I have definitely rated matches better because of the live crowd, even though they might not have been better bell to bell than the empty arena ones. You know what I mean?
Okay, so I got a good question for you. Since we're at this point where we're transitioning over back into actually having crowds, what do you think the best match was beginning of the year until they started getting crowds back during that time period? I'll go ahead and tell you my vote was that Impact 6-man with Kenny Omega and the Good Bros against Rich Swann, Moose, and Chris Sabin. That's my vote for the best, still no really crowd matches before we got crowds back in this year.
Yeah.
That's a hard one to argue with, just because, to be honest with you, I felt, you guys know, maybe I'm a little biased, but I've kind of felt like the main event scene in WWE up until the latter half of this year has been pretty stale.
Yeah, for sure.
So, I don't really, it's sort of hard to go back and be like, hey, this really memorable match from no crowds or whatever. They did some good work with it. Yeah, I got to commend them on being inventive with the production element, with the screens and the zooms and all that fun stuff. But, I mean.
Oh, there was a good ladder match with Jeff Hardy.
Oh, yeah.
Was it that?
Where he took a
nasty
nasty
pay-per-view.
bump.
It was a network special or something.
Yeah.
Was it
that was also really good. That was memorable.
Yeah.
Because it was a nasty bump.
I can't remember who he wrestled.
I don't know.
But it was
I remember the fucking bar fight.
Yeah. That was a little much. Yeah, Jeff Hardy is another guy that got released on the back end here, actually relatively recently, but he's definitely AEW bound. There's no debate about that. I mean,
old Christian kind of teased it in an interview. So.
Yeah, well,
a little bit. I mean, so yeah, I don't know. I mean, that pre-pandemic era pre-live crowd coming back era of best matches, you got me, man. I got to be honest, it's like two different worlds, and I remember very little from it. I mean, if we're counting AEW, you look at the matches from, what was it, Revolution during that time. I'm sure there's something on that card that would stand out to me if I recalled the card right off the top of my head, but I know it wasn't that fucking exploding barbed wire match. You know what I mean?
I mean, the Winter is Coming show was was good. I mean,
see, the AEW ones were different because there was like a little bit of a crowd on most of all the big matches.
Right.
Even if it was just like there was a little bit more than just the other wrestlers doing the bullshit.
I agree. I mean, I'd probably have to agree with you as far as like completely empty arenas. Like probably that Impact match is probably the best one. That or the Josh Alexander Christian match. I guess that wasn't really. I guess
we were there. Like,
that was we
saw the build up. They had crowds back at that point.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. Maybe
they're just still at a TV
because Impact is they have like 50 people, so it's like
they're still just in a studio setting as opposed to an arena or whatever. But it's like, I don't know. I want to say I'm missing something from an NXT from men, but
the Walter Dragunov, that was no crowd.
Oh, Walter Dragunov was no crowd.
That was no crowd.
Was it?
Yeah, it's got to be that
was
one.
No crowd at all. That's why it's
got to be that one.
That's why it's crazy. That's so memorable, just because it was to have that good of a match with no crowd support. That's fucking insane.
They did have that Balor versus Dunn for the NXT Championship too. That was pretty fucking good.
Yes.
That was like in the first quarter too.
Yep.
Yeah. It was really good. I mean, Pete Dunne to me is such a wasted talent, but
they did have the Thunderdome, which I guess is a semblance of a crowd.
I mean, honestly, like it's a great idea. Like, I mean,
like I said, you got to hand it to him for being inventive. That's creativity at its finest, man. And if anybody was gonna, it's not like Impact did it. Like Impact to me would be so much farther along right now after they lost their trade deal with AEW. I say lost after it expired. It was set to expire.
Yeah.
But had there been a little bit more effort to make some kind of different visual element during that no crowd time, I really feel like they would be so much farther along than they are right now, because right now we can kind of see them waning back down the hill a little bit. And I hate to see it because they put on some of the best shows at the beginning of the year.
So, so officially, when was the first big pay-per-view for every show that had crowds back?
AEW is Double or Nothing.
Nothing.
Mania was WWE.
After Mania, because they took the break. So what was like the first big one after WrestleMania? SummerSlam?
They had crowds for pay-per-views after SummerSlam. Oh, it was Backlash, wasn't it?
Backlash.
Yeah, it might have been Backlash.
WrestleMania Backlash. That was their first one.
Yeah, that's right.
And then Impact, I think, was Slammiversary, wasn't it?
Slammiversary, that's correct.
Yeah. That's crazy.
So I guess that's what we're gonna pick up from.
I mean, Slammiversary is in June, like it usually is, about second or third week of June.
Yeah, it's the middle of the summer. Okay.
Everybody's, teasing comebacks and teasing people debuting and all that fun stuff. And they didn't really do as much of that this time around, I mean, there was some, but there wasn't anything that was like mind fucking blowing, you know what I mean?
Yeah, not really.
It's just one of those weird things. I still think their product was solid. I mean, we were at some of those tapings, and it was, a hell of a lot of fun for sure. But I think putting the focus on people like Josh Alexander, again, Moose has improved so much, and even
tremendously
this year alone.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, that guy has. I mean, he went from a guy that I honestly thought was never going to be. I thought he had already reached the ceiling, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I mean, dude, in every way, on the mic, his character, his physique, his actual look has improved. His in-ring work has been nothing short of awesome. I mean, he's been really, really, really good this year. Yeah. But yeah, man, I think that's it's crazy to see to see that transition for Impact when they did get that trade deal with AEW. You know what I mean? The idea of the Forbidden Door, I feel like that's a big story of 2021 too. That.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you can't. The value that gave Impact is undeniable, I think.
And they still obviously have some of it going on with some of the New Japan talent that they still use, because they still use smaller elements of the Bullet Club and Finn Juice and stuff like that. But it's just that the AEW one being out the window, which you kind of can't blame AEW for, because they weren't really getting anything out of it.
No, yeah. No, I completely agree.
It would be hard for them to.
Who would get the Good Brothers some TV time, basically.
Which, isn't really benefiting. You guys know right here, I love the Hoots. But at the same time, I don't know how much AEW directly benefited from their presence on television.
I don't think
probably
they did
not at all. They just did it for fun because it just made it made the Elite look bigger and more, menacing.
I mean, it definitely contributed to the
that
story,
extra element on
sure.
TV.
It definitely helped Kenny's heel turn for sure.
Oh, yeah.
It definitely did.
And BTE was great.
Yeah. Yeah, BTE was great. Yeah.
During that time,
they're responsible for the most edited Dynamite match of all time.
And that is correct. That's
what, really?
Yes, because they did so much off script shit. Like they did like a power bomb line where they hit the joint and he passes the joint and they pass it back, try to pass it to Matt and he's like, nah, and then he puts it out and they give him the power bomb. Like,
oh my goodness.
They were just doing every little fucking thing, cock things with the belts, lots of cock references. Yeah.
So at some point in time, you could hear Gallows say, "What, you can't smiz whiz on the tishes?"
Good stuff right there.
Oh, it is good.
Only them.
So literally the first Forbidden Door ever thing that we saw was that when Kenta appeared on Dynamite.
Yeah.
Was that the initial opening of the Forbidden Door?
It may have been. I really want to say that, like, I feel like the Good Brothers thing was before that, was it not?
I'm pretty sure it was. I think that the Impact.
Well, I mean, like the first,
Oh yeah.
Surprise,
yes,
not
yes,
just
yes.
not
I
just.
think it was Kenta. Obvious. Yeah, I think it was Kenta.
That was the first like New Japan thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
To me, it was like meh.
I mean,
give me a Bushi or like, NATO or like.
I mean,
Okada.
so far,
they're too expensive.
Yeah, well.
So far, to me, Suzuki it was the most exciting one.
Give me Ospreay.
Well, I mean, everybody wants to see that happen, obviously. Yeah. But
yep, that'll happen eventually. We'll see it. Just give us some time.
For sure.
But I mean, and then there were some poor old NWA trying to struggle the whole year, getting their shit back together. They finally got some pay-per-views going.
And turns out Tony Khan was funding all their whole women's division, paying for the whole thing.
Yep, that's what I heard.
Good for him.
Hey, makes sense. He got, dude. If the only thing he got out of that is fucking Thunder Rosa, then it's
a win. Yeah,
100% win because she's fucking amazing.
Yeah,
and I think Serena was a part of that too. Serena Deeb.
Oh yeah, probably.
At the same time, even if it was only Thunder, I'm for it.
She's responsible for one of my favorite women's match of the year when we get into that stuff right there.
When we're getting that stuff right there. So, yeah, man. I mean, we start getting into now. We're like back in the summertime. We're back at the point where everybody's a little stoked. I know me personally, I was starting to make a bunch of like ticket buying plans and shit for not only indie shows, but also shit. Wes and I we're still doing commentary all the way up through July.
Yep.
Till that shit fucking fell down, and then like it's just it was a very interesting landscape. They continued on with SummerSlam. They continued on with the live touring. AEW continued touring live. Impact started making moves to Las Vegas, doing all this stuff. And then we get this Delta variant thing, which put another halt to a bunch of indie wrestling, another halt to a bunch of people being able to travel.
Yep.
Absolutely fucking brutal. However, it did not stop any of the wrestling train on a higher level from what I can really see.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't for sure. I mean, at that point too, they were like, you know what? We already shut down one time. We're not doing it again. We're going to keep going. People are going to get sick. It is what it is. We're just going to keep going. I mean, I'm not saying like that is agree or not agree. Like that is what happened. So
that's just what happened. I mean, it's undeniable.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know. I think that, I mean, there was a brief time like towards the end of summer and going into the fall where it was like, I think we're pretty much done with this.
Mm-hmm.
And everything felt really normal. Like, I mean, I don't feel like I was being asked for my Vax card to go places anymore or whatever. You know what I mean? It just felt like kind of normal. And so during that time, I think is when there was another wave of releases around that time too, at the end of SummerSlam.
There were. So it was like, because we went to another round of Impact tapings.
Yeah.
That second week of August. Like, right. Yes. It was like about a month after Slammiversary, because that's when I booked the Good Brothers on my birthday.
Yep.
And by that time, it kind of felt like we were out of the woods. I kind of felt like we were going to see a little bit more New Japan stuff, yada, yada, yada. The month of August, I'm not exactly sure when all of these fell. August is when the Ric Flair thing happened, and they released Ric Flair from his Legends contract.
Oh, yeah.
Bronson Reed, Bobby Fish, Leon Ruff, Tyler Rust, Jake Atlas, Mercedes Martinez, Asher Hale, a bunch of people that were on the lower level, but also our fucking boy Alex Zane, which I still say was a mistake.
Yeah, I'm
Dude,
sure. I mean,
half these things are a mistake.
I mean, Alex Zane.
What month are we at right here now?
So.
This is in August. This is all in August. Now, I don't necessarily know the direct relationship between these and SummerSlam. I just know that they were in August.
So Double or Nothing was also in what, August?
The Double or Nothing was in May, I believe. Pretty sure.
So we skipped over Double or Nothing. That's what we need to talk about.
Double or Nothing?
Right? That's the no. All Out is in August, right?
All Out was in either the tail end of August or beginning of September.
August. That's the one I'm talking about. We need to.
Yeah.
That's the one that we really need to get into because that's we can go ahead and say it right now. Pay-per-view of the year.
Was that one?
All Out.
I thought it was. I might
have gone Full Gear a little bit on that.
Yeah.
Which was the one that had all the debuts?
Full Gear.
That was Full Gear, I think.
Full Gear? No, Full Gear was the one we just had. That CM Punk had his first pay-per-view match.
Oh, that's right. So All Out, yeah.
All Out was the one that had Bryan Danielson and Adam Cole debut at the end of it.
Yeah.
Hard. It's so hard to keep track of this shit.
Wasn't it? That was September. All Out was in September.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if y'all remember talking at the time, we were talking about one of the most, because that's like, we were saying one of the most monumental pay-per-views ever because of the shift in the business and all the different people that came over. And
no, totally. And it's funny now that you say that, because I do vividly remember it. I mean, I vividly remember it all happening, but I now vividly remember that it was All Out specifically because of the time frame. But this year has felt like it was 35 years long. So it's hard.
Yeah.
I know. It's really hard to keep up with it.
For some reason,
it's weird.
It was the most recent one.
I think it's because of the past now 2 years. It's just been like stay at home, don't do as much, and I feel like time just goes by slower. Like I do feel like these past 2 years have been like the longest 2 years of my life. But yeah, man. So like let's move it even further. Then let's get into kind of like these past couple months and what's kind of been going on around here. I mean, I think that to me, AEW is handedly winning at least the content war.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, like WWE's reach is just so massive that they're clearly still, I mean, by a large margin in first place. But you know, how much of that, and I think. So to me, I think a lot of it at this point, WWE and AEW are going to get to a point where they're just two completely different products. Like it's not even the same thing. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I can
tell you that just from the other day I watched one segment on fucking WWE of like, it was like Carmella versus somebody else. No, it was Liv Morgan and maybe, I don't know, but just the whole presentation of the feud and everything, and them come out and cutting their promos. And I was just like, this is just night and fucking day from AEW. It doesn't even seem like the same thing, even though they're both pro wrestling, which one's really entertainment, sports entertainment there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that kind of speaks to the future of the industry in general, though, because if anybody else is going to carve a niche for themselves to reach a modicum of the success that AEW even has, they're going to have to present a different product. Like we can't.
Yeah.
Part of the boom here is you can't have 6 wrestling companies that are trying to go after the same thing. And that's part of why I think, you know, MLW does have a pretty certain core audience, but they do present their product slightly differently. And I think that whoever kind of goes more into that almost combat feel first is going to also have like that third spot.
Yes, I think so. I think so as well. I think because it's like, you know, back in the day, we had WWF, WCW, ECW, and everyone like, you know, ECW was just a different presentation. WCW and WWF were also like, there were at one point when they were all three kind of like really going strong, they were all 3 completely different shows. The look of them, the vibe of them.
Yeah.
Now, the obviously, like, you know, I mean, and I would argue that we kind of are getting to that now. Like, to me, AEW is like the 96 WCW. And like, you know, and WWE is still WWE, but they're just kind of doing the new generation, kind of stupid, gimmicky, bad storyline kind of thing again. And I think, you know, you got another company coming up, which I think GCW is actually going to slide into that third role, in my opinion.
I could see it, and I would be very happy if they did.
Yeah, they have enough, like, enough like legend, star power, and up and coming like good talent that they can just easily fill that void of the like extra fan base right there, and they kind of have that ECW rabid fan base anyways, and they're doing that Hammerstein Ballroom show. So all the parallels are lining up right there, Daniel. And I know you're trying to make it happen. You're
I like that. I like that idea. History. I'm trying to make it work, man. I'm trying to make it work, baby.
They can also veer into that like outlaw country territory that a lot of other people are just not in a position to do because of their syndication rights and things like that, which is why ECW was fucking successful in the first place.
Speaking of Veer, is Veer Mahan ever going to show up to Raw?
I don't know. Like, hasn't he been on his way for like a year?
Yeah, they literally they showed another promo for it this week. So, and it's been going on for like months now.
Yeah, I mean, it's the only way anybody's gonna remember that dude's name.
Yeah, that's true. Veer Mahan, and wasn't he in NXT? Like, so it's like to me, it's like why are you debut? I mean, didn't he like? Wasn't he? Or am I confused? Was he not in NXT?
He was in like a faction with Jinder Mahal and some the other dude.
He was in Veer and Shanky, who were with Jinder, were also a tag team called Indus Sher in NXT, who they actually kind of made look like they were going to make into some fucking badass dudes, and then never really did anything with them.
Yeah,
sounds like WWE.
Yep.
And so they're just doing that exact same. If I'm not mistaken, it's the same gimmick, right? Like it's the same face paint. It's literally so that they didn't repackage him at all. They're just making him a singles guy. Why? Why are you even airing these vignettes? Like.
And he's been wrestling on main event anyway, so
probably because are they going to do another? And this is in no way meant to be like offensive at all, but I mean, are they going to do another special in India in January?
Yeah, they very well may, and they're really trying to capitalize on that Indian market because Indians love pro wrestling. It's just a fact.
I mean, the thing about it is, every time they go is like up until recently, that was Mansoor's only match.
Yeah.
So, I mean, they need to beef that up if they're going to.
I know a guy named Mansoor, but he's not Indian.
Yeah.
What is he?
He's just a black American male.
Black American male. Mansoor. Really? That's a hell of a name. It's a hell of a name.
Good guy.
Yeah, not really a hell of a wrestler though, but it is what it is. He's not that bad. He's really not that bad. He's just very green. Yeah, he's fine. He's fine.
He's no Ali, which is who they were pairing him with there for a while.
Yeah.
But then as we keep going, the crowds seem like they're all at a fever pitch for AEW. Not only AEW's also obviously done a way better job of capitalizing on their weekly television than WWE has, for sure. Like there are many pay-per-view specials a lot of the time, which you can't do all the time, but they've been spacing them out, I think. Which is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, right now though we're doing like 4 pay-per-views a year with AEW. I don't want to do 12 pay-per-views a year, but I would like to see 6. I'd like to see less TV specials, honestly. And just 6 pay-per-views a year. So every other month, give me a pay-per-view. Maybe
what
one
if 2
or
of
2.
the pay-per-views were short, like in your house type deals? Like
I think that's. I mean, I think that's always a good idea. Also, too, like, I mean, I know NXT 2.0 is a thing, but to me, 2.0 is not NXT really. I mean, I think that the black and gold brand like kind of dying, but like, and a lot of people. Like get kind of pissed when you say this, but like to me, AEW really just took over like the black and gold brand. Like I feel like all the NXT fans is what really became AEW fans and like a lot of indie wrestling fans in general.
Hey, I agree because dude, watching those old NXT like 2014 through 16 pay-per-views,
amazing.
The crowd vibe is just like AEW
the crowd
crowds.
Vibe, yeah.
I mean, the other thing about it too is like you got to look at even the first half of 2021 before they killed off Black and Gold. Those specials were all pretty fucking good.
Oh yeah, they were great. Sure. Yeah.
I mean the Kyle O'Reilly, Adam Cole stuff alone is fucking great.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Really good for sure.
Yeah, I just feel like I agree with you on the space. Here's one thing I would like to see too, and something we did kind of gloss over. AEW debuted a second television show weekly in August.
Yeah.
And on Friday nights, and obviously. We see CM Punk, which has got to be one of the bigger moments of wrestling in the last decade, much less,
bigger moments of wrestling, period.
Fucking insane. Just a massive moment. And to see it pay off and to see him have that promo the way that he did, fucking absolutely beyond belief phenomenal. So I'm all the way into that. However, after that, man, Friday nights for AEW are no longer appointment television for me by any stretch of the imagination, whether I'm home or not.
Yeah. Rampage is not. it's a bridge show. It's like they're only going to further storylines. They're never really going to start anything big there.
Unless it's like a special live Rampage. Those are the only ones you want to watch, because all the other ones are taped. So unless you're there watching it live, like I never watch it live. I always DVR'd. I never watch the matches unless someone's like, "This is a banger." Like I went and watched Hook. Had to watch Hook debut.
Now, do you guys think that they'll change that once the TBS move happens for Dynamite?
I would assume so.
Maybe so.
I would assume so. I also like, I genuinely believe that they're going to end up getting another hour for that show. I genuinely do believe that Rampage is going to back end. Probably back end, because it's more of a later television kind of pro wrestling in general is just kind of a later show. You know what I mean?
Maybe they get some really raunchy storylines on those late night hours, you know.
And would also be competing directly with SmackDown, was kind of my point. But
yeah, I mean, that's fine. I don't know. I one major thing to me about 2021 is that, like, I don't think that ratings matter at all. I don't think that like the idea that people use television ratings to rate it which show is better or which show is more successful is kind of crazy to me. It's like, dude,
as long as they're making money from the advertisers and the fucking networks are happy, then I think they're doing good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the ratings are absolutely irrelevant for WWE. Yeah. They're somewhat relevant to that particular revenue stream of AEW. But, I mean, Bischoff said it best when he talked about signing Macho Man to WCW in 1996 or whatever that was, 95. He came with that Slim Jim sponsorship, which basically paid for his contract.
Right.
The only difference now is the T-shirt engine and machine that exists, the merchandising machine that exists for independent pro wrestling, basically means you can pay a guy like CM Punk whatever the fuck you want. It's going to get paid off on the first day.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude, he sold more shirts. Yeah, dude, you're right. Merch is just fucking ridiculous when it comes to wrestling. So
yeah,
and buy rates for them, which is, you know, a weird thing that nobody else has really.
Yeah, and the Young Bucks have been killing it with merch for years. Same with Colt Cabana, dude. They're OGs in that shit.
Yeah, man.
I just think overall, you know, AEW definitely has a modicum of success that's not looked at overwhelmingly positive just because of that rating. But I agree. I mean, that's an antiquated system.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I haven't watched like a regular television program like as it's on live, unless it's like an actual sports event, and like years probably. So like it's always streaming or something else. So it's just kind of crazy to think like, oh, only a few 100,000 people are watching wrestling. It's like, I don't believe that, dude.
Also, no matter what those ratings, they're always in the top 3 or so of whatever else is on TV.
Yeah.
It's like everything is that way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Ratings in general are down. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy, man. Let's get to these superlatives though. For 2021, we're gonna do a biggest surprise of the year. Is gonna be my first one. So Jesse, what do you think your biggest surprise of the year was?
Man, I gotta say, seeing Nick Gage on AEW television.
Oh wow, okay.
A pretty large fucking surprise to me. I mean, it's not like he doesn't deserve to be there, but the fact that somebody put him there was mind blowing to me. I just didn't think I'd ever see it happen.
Yeah, that makes sense. Wex, biggest surprise of the year for you?
I would say the CM Punk, but it was like not really a surprise because everyone pretty much knew it was happening. So I'm going to say the back-to-back debuts of Adam Cole and Bryan Danielson at All Out, just because I did not expect it happened so quickly. I was just like, what the fuck? Like, really good shit right there. Genuinely surprising. That you don't really get that in pro wrestling anymore.
I figured once we saw one, they would save the other.
Exactly. You wouldn't get both back to back. They were just busting nuts left and right there.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna go with your background, Jesse. I think Matt Cardona was the biggest surprise of the year for me, and I think that he's on the up and up for sure. I'm super excited to see where that goes with him. Let's get to the next one here. Match of the year. Now this can be male or female. It doesn't matter. Match of the year, Wex. What was your match of the year?
I'm going to go with the Lucha Bros versus the Young Bucks, Steel Cage for the World Tag Team Championships.
Good call.
That was on my list.
That was one of my only few 6-beer matches of the year, and man,
Yeah.
Those are 4 of my favorite fucking wrestlers like currently right now, and they just absolutely over delivered in that match.
I completely agree.
So many callbacks, so much good stuff right there.
Jesse, match of the year.
Got to go with Walter versus Ilya Dragunov for the NXT UK Championship at TakeOver 36, man.
That's crazy. That's awesome.
That match was it's not the first time that they've ever faced off, but fuck if it wasn't just like such a different presentation for WWE and excuse me, very fresh. And rumor mill is Walter's going to the mains. I really hope they don't find a way to fuck that up.
Yeah, I don't know how they could. I mean, I hope he gets to keep Imperium too, because I feel like that's a really good thing for him. Yeah, I think it works out well. I gotta go with Kenny Omega versus Daniel Bryan in that Broadway. I think that's easily my number 1 match of the year. I think that it's kind of crazy to me how Bryan Danielson has become arguably one of the best heels in the business, like so quickly out of his debut. You know what I mean? Like, really well done. It's because people really don't want to boo him, but he just does a really good job, and he gets booed, and that's
he didn't change much about his microphone presentation or anything
at all. Yeah,
like the style of wrestling in ring, he changed a little bit, like he really it's just emphasis and mannerisms, and it's a fucking study.
Yeah, it's great, man. He's one of the best for sure. Let's keep it rolling here, man. Rookie of the year.
Okay.
Who's going first?
Yeah, who's first on this one?
Wex, give it to me. Rookie of the year.
Rookie of the year. I'm gonna go with Daniel Garcia.
Daniel Garcia. Okay, I like that. I like that.
He's been nothing but up on the come up this entire year. He's had lots of big matches against a lot of great opponents, and I like the idea. I've heard a rumor mill of a faction starting in AEW with him and Bryan Danielson and like maybe somebody else, Lee Moriarty, just some people that can stretch the fuck out of people. But Lee Moriarty's too nice for that. Lee Moriarty's way too nice. What?
Where is Timothy Thatcher?
Oh yeah, I don't even. Yeah, I don't.
He's from the UK, so he's probably just stuck out there.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
Didn't he get hurt though?
I heard he did. Yeah.
Hurt his shoulder or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure. That would be good for something like that.
But all right, who's next, Jesse? What you got?
Jesse, Rookie of the Year.
This might be an early call and somewhat controversial, I'm sure. I'm gonna go with Hook though, dude.
Nice.
Hook. Okay.
We're very low scale in, but you got to say his television presentation prior to being in the ring itself wasn't bad. They just, they were smart about not letting him say shit really. But his 2 things are, super exciting, like social media shattering debuts on fucking Friday nights for AEW, and they don't have that.
Yeah.
So I think that I think the future is very bright.
Maybe he'll truly be Rookie of the Year next year. Maybe he'll have a hell of a year this coming up here.
I hope so for sure. I mean, I will say that I was pleasantly surprised. I think that when he got in the ring and started going, I was like, okay,
his dad's not gonna let him look like a fool, dude. Come on.
I know, but he does he is above average for sure. And this is very first.
He's better than fucking Dominic Mysterio.
He's better than Brock Anderson.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I got to go with Dante Martin. I think that he's Rookie of the Year for sure for me.
That's a good one.
I mean, if you go from where he started with his brother to having him get hurt and then turning into this massive storyline that he has now, and just the fact that to me, it's almost like there's an innocence to him. It's almost like sometimes I don't feel like he realizes how big the moments are. And that's good. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he gets nervous because I don't think he really realizes how big the moments are, and he always delivers. Now he definitely needs to work on his personality for sure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be hyped to see his brother come back. I think that's gonna be a good storyline. I think either if they become a tag team or even wrestle each other, I think that could be a great little rivalry there on its own. But yeah, I think Dante for me is got to be Rookie of the Year. Let's keep it rolling here. Tag Team of the Year, Mr. Jesse Baker. Give it to me.
Man, I know it's somewhat of a cop-out, but I just fucking love them. I got to go with FTR.
Okay.
Their presentation, they've been used in a much more serious manner this year. I was a little let down when they first debuted, but It's been a lot more serious. We've seen them do even just that match where they were in the fucking lucha costumes and shit. I mean, like, we've just seen a much better presentation, in my opinion, of them as a unit. Even with the Pinnacle stuff, I fucking love them boys.
That's fair. That's fair. Tag team of the year, Wex. What do you think?
I'm going with the Lucha Bros.
Nice.
I mean, they took down the Young Bucks. They ended their fucking long ass run as the World Tag Team Champions, and like, you know, had some really great matches in between. And at one point, they were also the AAA World Tag Team and the AEW World Tag Team Champions. So I mean, kind of hard to argue with that. They're really fucking great. And FTR, like, very close second there. I can agree there with Jesse. But the Young Bucks, I would say they were more of, I don't know. It's kind of hard.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go Lucha Bros number 1.
Yeah.
To be fair, I was gonna go with the Lucha Bros, but I think just for the purpose of diversity here, I actually think that through the Black and Gold brand 2.0, one of the main staples who was also started in Impact in 2021, the MSK tag team. I think that they're vastly underrated. Every time they get television time, they're insanely good. I think that they're kind of a shining moment too. Like they kind of came in towards the tail end of the Black and Gold, but I feel like they're one of the few teams that has really kind of bridged that gap into 2.0, and it worked for them. You know what I mean? I don't know if you guys have seen what they're doing now with like Matt Riddle being like their shaman and stuff. It's entertaining, and that's the thing. It's sports. They're doing the sports entertainment part. It's not pro wrestling, but they're doing it well. And when they are in the ring bell to bell, it's really, really good work rate. So
too bad WWE just puts a back seat to tag teams on 100%. AEW.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree. Now let's go with Women's Wrestler of the Year. I'm going to go ahead and say it. I'm taking this one before anybody else does. It's Britt Baker for me. 100% got to be the DMD. I think that she is easily the best thing. I think that she's kind of carrying the women's division right now. I'm not saying they don't have anybody, but they have very few great women's wrestlers, like maybe 4 or 5. And so that's just not enough, really. But yeah, man, I think definitely got to be Britt Baker for me. Wex, where you at? Woman of the Year.
Since you're Britt Baker, I'm gonna go with Deonna Purrazzo.
Oh, good, solid.
From Impact Wrestling. Yeah. Even though she just recently lost Impact Wrestling title, she now has the AAA Women's World Championship in her grasp. So she's had a great. Us alone saw her have some pretty good ass matches down there at Skyway Studios in Nashville, Tennessee, and like she said, she did a little international stuff. She had a lot of great matches this year, and I didn't realize she's actually dating Steve Cutler. I don't know if they're married or whatever, but they're doing a little something together.
Burt Macklin.
You know, old forgotten son.
Yeah.
Well, for mine, I mean, we all know who I'd love to pick, but she was kind of low profile this year.
Yeah.
You know, old Jordan Grace, my heart goes out to you, but it just wasn't enough for me this year in terms of being the Woman of the Year in 2021. This is a weird one, I'm sure, but I got to give it to Bianca Belair, dude.
Okay.
Like,
she had a great year. I agree.
Fantastic year.
If you're looking at the
we
way
just forget about WWE, that's what it is.
Yeah.
The way the women's division is run in WWE, that's a very difficult pecking order, and she was a victim of it at one point for sure. I mean, shit, she got squished at WrestleMania just so they could get Becky back. I mean, SummerSlam rather, just so they could get Becky back, which was fucking insanely stupid. But at the same time, she still managed to be at the top of the heap all fucking year long. And when they wanted to do an interpromotional thing with that festival in Miami, she was on Front Street, dude, and that crowd was eating it up. She is a cross-promotional fucking star.
Yeah.
And, yeah, I just think she had a great year.
Yeah, I'd say that she had a pretty good year. Wex, where you at on it?
I said Deonna Purrazzo.
Oh, that's right, Deonna Purrazzo. And so I was Britt Baker.
Bianca Belair.
Yeah, I think those are all solid choices. I
wanted to give the shout out to Thunder Rosa.
Yeah, she was my number 2 choice, but she did not capture any championship gold.
Not quite the year.
This year. She lost the NWA title, so never regained it. So
they had a good match last night though.
All right, boys. Here's the meat and potatoes, man. This is the main event of the year in review. The men's wrestler of the year. Jesse, since you're making your triumphant return here, I'm going to go ahead and let you kick it off.
Man, it's he had a rough first half of his year, but it's hard for me to argue. with Hangman Adam Page.
Okay.
I just got to say, he's put on some of the best fucking matches of his entire career this year on a much larger platform than he's ever been on.
Yeah.
It's challenging for them to go ahead and put the strap on him given the talent pool at the moment, but he's holding his own between the bell, and this is the way to elevate that motherfucker to where he needs to be. I think he's done a great job at it, and I think 2022 is going to be a huge year for the Hangman.
I completely agree with that sentiment. Wex, men's wrestler of the year for 2021. Who is it going to be?
I mean, how can anybody honestly disagree with the fucking cleaner Kenny Omega? He had
he had an insane year.
Impact World Championship, the AEW World Championship, the AAA Mega Championship, and just had match after fucking match after match, all while wrestling with multiple injuries, vertigo, all this shit. And he went out with a fucking banger with Adam Page, and man, he had a hell of a year. I mean, I almost wanted to choose one more person that maybe your choice since I chose Kenny Omega. So I don't know if you want to choose the same person, but this is a fucking tough decision, but great year for Kenny Omega. I love everything that he did this year. I hope that he comes back strong from his injuries, and hopefully we get to see that dream Elite versus Undisputed era. A little feud going on AEW, which we know it's going to happen.
I don't know. What are they going to call them? They got to call them something.
Undisputed Elite.
What do you say? I think Kyle O'Reilly said something like Paragon last night or something. I hope that's not what they go with, but he mentioned it slyly in a promo while they were talking backstage. So.
My goodness. I hope. What if they just like start coming up with names and like you just see them in the back and they're like, what about this? Like, I feel like that would be a good, like a funny little teaser for me, man. It's okay. It's weird. Like, I'm not gonna say that I'm the biggest fan of this guy, but to me, the biggest men's wrestler of the year, biggest impact has got to be CM Punk. It just has to be. I mean, coming back after that massive layoff, and the fact that he still gets the pops that he got pretty much from night one, it's still there almost every single time, if not every single time he's on television. Say what you want. I mean, like, I was never the biggest mark for him bell to bell. I always thought he was a phenomenal mic guy, and he still definitely has the mic chops for sure. But when he got in the ring, like, he wrestled at the same level that he wrestled before. And that's, it's commendable for sure. I mean, obviously you could argue Daniel Bryan or Bryan Danielson. I got to stop calling him Daniel Bryan. It's killing me.
All right, Jim Ross.
I know it's the worst, but yeah, I mean, you could argue that. I think Adam Cole I think that I'm glad that he's getting O'Reilly and Fish in there. I think that that's massive because I honestly I think out of those three kind of coming in at one time, he's had the biggest lull, I think. Not that he's been like non-existent, but I mean, dude was like literally the NXT champion for forever. And then he comes in and he's kind of like the lower mid card angle right now. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard when they thrust you into a group where like the group literally had just gone and still at that point in time were in the midst of the main event scenarios in their two respective championships, such as Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
And then the new guy who comes in and he's just part of the group. Like part of me wants him to come in and turn on them from day one, to be honest.
But, yeah, I feel like that would have been better, but yeah, I hear you.
We see the siege. AEW likes to do that long-term storytelling. They don't want to like bust a nut too quick. As I'm quoting Jake Roberts, as it actually said in an AEW ring one time. Said, your guys aren't going to bust a nut when I'm in the ring. I'll pop for that one. I'll always remember that classic Jake Roberts line.
And with that, I think that's going to put a bow on 2021. I think that's the best way to end this year in review. We are super excited for season 4. We got like some new ideas. We're going to try to cover as much of current stuff as possible. Really going to try this year to not have any weeks where there isn't no weeks where there's 2 nostalgia shows. So there's at least one current thing with a nostalgia show every time. So this next coming week is going to be TNA Final Resolution 2007. We're just getting into that kind of angle that we've been kind of talking about the 06 there, hopping over into 07 for next year, and we're going to be going up against WWE's Day 1 2022. So
that's looking like there ain't no telling who's actually going to be on the card because there's a big COVID outbreak.
Which honestly, I feel like when their backs are against the wall, they try to put on a better wrestling show. And
bring out some NXT guys. Bring out some other random guys like Ricochet who never get to wrestle. Like, let's see some good shit.
Yep. And then after that, we're getting back to Impact. It's been a while since we've covered them, so it'll be Impact's Hard to Kill 2022 versus WCW's Sold Out 1997. We're getting into 1997. We've been covering a lot of 1996 on the show. But yeah, man, I'm super excited to get into that. I know that we're definitely going to have the introduction and the first ever Baker's Dozen in January as well. So it'll be a Jesse takeover show, and he's going to kind of figure out what that's going to be. We're going to map that out here and make it happen for you guys. But yeah, that's going to do it for us this week. You can always find the show at KFaveCom everywhere on the socials except for TikTok. It's at KFaveComPod. You can always find me at Daniel Daybreak on all the socials. Jesse, where can folks find you, man?
I am at Jesse Baker Nash on Instagram and Twitter, and just old Jesse Baker on Facebook, or usually around the Exodus or Hurry Back down on Ellison Place.
Yes, sir. Wex, give him the script, baby.
And you can find your boy Wex Breaking the Lawson at Wex Breaking the Loss on all your social medias. Except for Facebook, it's my little code name, Wex Lee. If you know what you're talking about, you can come holler at me if you know what I'm saying.
That's going to do it for us this week, guys. We'll see you all next week for Season 4. We're out.
Peace for 4.